Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Now, for those of you that keep up with Dungeons & Dragons news, you know they are still releasing more and more things about D&D One, which is kind of the next update. It's basically 6th edition, but I don't think they wanted to call it that because 5e has become such a household name. Nonetheless, it's got some interesting updates, and I think they're trying to push the game in the right direction, but they're making some weird calls. Now, barring that, what I want to talk about specifically today is things they could do better that are in relation to Naruto 5e, and things that I think they should really start doing to make D&D 1 as good as it could get. Now, I am just going to come right out and say this. I think that they just need to get their head out of their own rear end, for lack of a better term, okay? They just do so many things that are kind of questionable and don't make sense, and a lot of times it feels like they just don't listen to the people that play the game at all, and then they had their whole controversy with, like, their homebrew stuff, you know, whatever. It's been a little absurd, but I think it would really do them a real solid to simply just look at homebrew content and try to form things based on that. Naruto 5e is such a thought out system. Is it perfect? No, but neither is Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and to be honest, there's parts of Naruto 5e and moments when I'm playing in that system where I kind of think to myself, it might just be better than regular D&D 5th edition. And the last thing I want to say before getting into all of my points is I also understand that the point of Dungeons & Dragons is to make your own stuff. One of the original rules from like the very first version of Dungeons & Dragons is that you should make your own rules. It should be fun. It should be what you want it to be. Basically, listen to the rules you want to and don't listen to the rules you don't want to. All right, that's kind of the point of Dungeons & Dragons. So, you know, there's going to be the people that, you know, want to defend it saying like, well, it's not intended to be this perfect guideline Bible rulebook that you follow to the T, right? And I agree. That being said, you could still make the guidelines better. So to actually get into the points I want to talk about today, one of the biggest ones and one of the biggest things talked about in Dungeons & Dragons is the conversations of marshals versus casters, right? And it's talked about all the time. Casters are way stronger than marshals in like 99% of cases. Maybe early game they can like out damage them, but even then it's questionable. I mean, with the amount of different things that sorcerers, wizards, whatever can do, it's just hard to compete with spells, and Naruto 5e has a great solution to this problem. For those of you that maybe it's your first time to the channel or you haven't heard of Naruto 5e, like use the system or really dove into it at all, well, they have a really sick system of basically everyone's a caster. Now, I don't think Dungeons & Dragons should go that route, to be clear. I actually think that would make Dungeons & Dragons not quite what it is. But it's a very unique system of everybody gets a chakra amount, which is basically your mana pool, and then you can do jutsus, and you can do any jutsu you have access to as long as you have the element and the chakra required. So whether you're a weapon specialist, whether you're a taijutsu specialist, which is kind of your like fighters of the Naruto 5e world, you can still use spells, or in the case of that, jutsus, which is really nice because what it does is it allows them an opportunity to do the same thing that like a ninjutsu specialist would do, which is basically your wizards of the game. Now, granted, they're not going to be as good as using something like a fireball, let's say, which is going to do a lot of massive AoE damage, but they can use a lot of those buffing spells. They even have jutsus called Buki jutsus, which are made specifically for your weapon people, which is awesome because everyone has their own little spells and things to use. I think one of the most perfect comparisons when it comes to the kind of fighter versus casters situation or argument or talk is there's a reason that a fighter subclass like the Battle Master is so beloved and seen as one of the better ones, because it inherently has spells. Now, you know, it's their maneuvers and it's controlling the battlefield and things like that, but they have this extra feature that really drives them and lets them affect the battlefield in more ways than swinging their weapon. Something like a barbarian can kind of get away with it because they're a tank and they can get their resistances, so they're able to do things of, you know, taking in damage that they wouldn't usually be able to tank as much of. But again, like when it comes to fighters, right, they're not really seen as one of the strongest classes in the game, but Battle Master is kind of one of the mainly beloved ones. Its ability to do things outside of the basic swing sword hit for damage makes it as great as it is, and that's part of what makes casters so good, is their ability to use spells for just such a countless number of things and not just do damage, but have spells that have really wild effects. The perfect example for all of this is whenever you start to get to high level. Now, granted, not a whole lot of campaigns actually get up into the, teens of levels. It's pretty rare. But for those that do, once, any kind of caster starts to get access to their third, a little bit, fourth, it starts to get rough, and really fifth is where it gets ridiculous level spells, it just gets absurd. You start getting spells that have such ridiculous effects that unless there's an enemy that just hard counters the effect, you're just OP. And if you're fighting enemies that hard counter the effect, you then just feel bad because the one thing, like that big thing you can do, your like maybe ultimate move you could say, just kind of disappears, and that just never feels good. Okay, and to dial myself back into the main point of the conversation here, just specifically talking about the martial issue, I think they really need to look to do more things like Battlemaster. Make more subclasses that have these pseudo abilities and they can basically be spells. Again, I don't think D&D would really be doing the right thing of just making everyone a caster like Naruto 5e. Naruto 5e is a little different. It's meant to be a lot more fun, meant to be a little more goofy. I mean, you're basically playing in an anime, right? The whole point is it's meant to just be a good time. D&D, while meant to be a good time, is usually a little more serious. It makes a little more sense. It's a little more grounded, all things considered. So don't make everyone a caster, but just give people more options, all right? I think the champion subclass is the perfect example of just really bad design. It really locks you into this somewhat boring playstyle, and sure, you can crit fish, which can be fun with some classes. Even the crit fishing isn't that good. You really need to give some of those subclasses more options. All that being said, I also understand not every class and subclass is going to be a winner. We just need more martial classes and subclasses that have these other abilities to compete with casters. So as I kind of started this video, I think D&D 5th edition has some other things they could learn from, but that was one of the main kind of biggest ones that I thought of that I think Naruto 5e does a great job of fixing and making it fun to play pretty much any class and subclass. You can make them all work effectively. Which, again, not easy, I understand, but I think it's something they should strive for a little more than they seemingly do. But nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion. If you agree, disagree, whatever the case may be, let me know down in the comments. I love having these types of discussions of the more kind of philosophical game design questions of what do you think would work best, how would you solve this problem, and again, if you think I'm just flat out wrong and dumb and I don't know what I'm talking about, I mean, shoot, let me know. Maybe I'm a little goose and I just haven't figured it out yet. So if you enjoy the content, subscribe down below. We got some more flowing out. And again, if you're not aware, all right, our Naruto 5e League is going on. There's actually going to be another match today. This is the last week of group play before we figure out seeding and get bracket play going. So if you want, check that out on the Twitch channel linked below. It's going to start at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time tonight. Hopefully I will see you there. Y'all have a good one. Peace out.